tomorrow, along with the Democratic primary. There's not a whole lot of races in the Democratic primary, although there are some interesting things if you're a Democratic voter that I think that you should know. There are some races, including the sheriff's race here in Pitt County, which is one of those interesting stories about the May elections this year. Here on the telephone to talk about all of that right now is the director of the Pitt County Elections Board, our friend Dave Davis. Good morning, Director Davis. How are you?
Good morning. Doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing great. Now, let's talk about early voting first. I got your numbers over the weekend. Looks like more than 500 more voters for the midterm this year than in 2010. And then I saw the numbers for the state this morning, over 100,000 more across the state. Turnout's pretty good, huh?
Oh, yeah, very good considering we were cut short by a week. Still had the turnout come in. It just kind of spread out, thankfully, rather than everybody coming one single day. It was spread out over over that week and a half, but pretty good turnout.
So about 5,800 people, something like that, voted in Pitt County. It compared to about 5,200. Those are round numbers. That's about right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then statewide, in 2010, there were 173,000 people who voted in the midterm primary, and this week, 279,000, more than 100,000 more people voted. So I guess, David, I know not to get. This is not a political question, but it's a legitimate question. I think. Does that dispel the concerns that people would be disenfranchised and would not be able to get to the polls if there wasn't Sunday voting and more days and all that?
Well, I think the numbers kind of show it that when you're matching and in the statewide case and like us, you're surpassing what was done in 2010 and in a week's less time. I think it shows that the voters are going to come out regardless of when you're open.
And good for the voters on that. It also probably shows that we got some hot races across the state, right? You've got a hot GOP primary for U.S. Senate. I did notice that the numbers statewide, the total numbers, Republicans came in at 33%, unaffiliated was 18%, 6.5 million registered voters in the state. There are plenty more who should get to the polls on Tuesday. Let's talk about tomorrow and what do people need to know about Election Day? There are some things that are going to be a little different tomorrow, right?
Yes. Main thing will be they're going to be asked if they have photo ID. They don't have to necessarily show it, but it's starting the dialogue in preparation for 2016 when they will have to. Right now, when they come into the polling place, they'll give their name, address, and party. That's always a stickler. Some people get upset of why do they have to state their party. It's because state law says they have to.
Well, it's a primary, right? I mean, you got
exactly.
to decide which election you're voting in.
Exactly, and that's why it's in the law. You have to say which party you're affiliated with. And when they do that, then the poll workers will be asking them either at that point or prior to when they're checking in. They'll be asked if they have any form of photo ID. They'll be shown a list of what's going to be appropriate and acceptable in 2016. If they don't, then they'll be given a document that they can take with them that shows what the acceptable forms are, where they can get them. And that really is about the only difference from what we've seen previously to now. The only other thing is this will be more behind the scenes, but if they happen to go to the incorrect, and this is why we say it's very important, especially now, to go to your correct assigned voting place, to your correct precinct, because if you cast a provisional ballot, due to being in the wrong precinct, not having your name in the poll roster, it may not be counted. So that's where it's important to go to your correct precinct so they'll find you in the voting roster and you'll be able to vote on the machine.
And you guys have done such a great job of promoting the early voting sites. There were 7, but it does become confusing if people aren't paying attention. You cannot go to those sites and vote tomorrow if you do not live in that precinct, correct?
That's correct, because of the 7, 4 of them are actually Election Day polling places.
Yeah.
So the voters who live in the precinct that's a polling place for, they're fine to go there. But the Ag Center, the county office site, and the community schools, the popular site, those will not be open tomorrow. We always get reports of hundreds of voters going there and being told, no, you need to look up. And this is where we add to go to the State Board of Elections website. You can look and put in your name, look yourself up, and it'll show you where your polling place is, complete with a map and photos of it. So that's a good resource if you don't know where to go. You can hit that site, and it'll tell you exactly where you need to be.
Dave Davis, the director of Pitt County Elections Board, on the telephone with us. Dave, now you have to determine going in if you're going to vote. If you're a Democrat, you have to vote in the Democrat primary. If you're a Republican, you have to vote in the Republican primary. Mm-hmm. If you are an unaffiliated, explain what happens if you're not affiliated with any party when you come in.
Great question. If you're unaffiliated, North Carolina is an open state, so you will be for unaffiliated voters. You'll be able to select which party's primary you want to participate in. That means you have 4 choices. You can get a Democratic ballot, Republican, Libertarian ballot, or a nonpartisan ballot, which would just have the 2 judicial contests on there. And we've had a few of these cases in the one stop. If the voter just flat refuses to tell us a party, well, we give them a nonpartisan ballot.
And they get to vote in one judge's race.
Yeah, they get the Supreme Court, I think. Yeah, the Supreme Court and a district court judge contest, and we had a few of those cast during the one stop, but that usually turns on the light bulb for the folks when they see that ballot and, oh, no, I want this ballot. So just go ahead and be prepared when you go in. If you're affiliated with one of the 3 parties, Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, to state that. And if you're unaffiliated, not only state that you're unaffiliated, but which party's primary you want to participate in.
If you are unsure where your polling place is there a place on the internet that you can put your address in and find out where you're supposed to vote?
Not really as far as address, but if you go to the State Board of Elections website, ncsbe.gov, go to voter search and just type in your name. You'll find yourself, and it'll show you, you can look at a sample ballot. It'll show you where your polling place is, photos of it, a map to it, all sorts of great information, very useful. That's the easiest way. You can use it from your smartphone if you're out driving around, or if you're sitting at your desk, you can look it up.
So you can put your name in at NCSB.
That's right.
E.
That's correct.
SBE.
State Board Elections.
NCSBE.com. You can put your
or .gov.
.gov. Okay, NCSBE.gov. You can put. There's a place to put your name in, and it will show you where you're supposed to go vote.
That's correct. That's the easiest bet, because we hear some folks who will call us on Election Day, which we are here. They can call us at 252-902-3300. We'll be glad to help them and look them up. But then sometimes we get the people who are upset that it took forever to get through because everybody else is calling. So if you want to avoid that, you can search yourself on the State Board website.
All right, now let's talk about some of the little nuances that could arise if people go in to vote. Number one, everybody knows that there's a big state Senate, a U.S. Senate primary going on. There are House of Representatives and Senate races going on, but these judges' races always tend to trip people up. And as I understand it, everyone is going to be asked to vote for a Supreme Court candidate, regardless of your party, correct?
That's correct. Supreme Court and the District 3A, which is all of Pitt County.
I was going to say, and if you're in Pitt County, you are also going to, regardless of your party, you will vote in the Pitt County District Court judge race, which is the 3 candidates there are Lee Teague, Daniel Ensminger, and Ferris Dixon.
That's correct.
And then the other thing that's a little bit of a nuance is the sheriff's race.
Yeah.
But only the people who are registered Democrats will vote in that race, right?
That's right. Democrats and unaffiliated who won a Democratic ballot. Mr. McLawhorn, he wanted to withdraw, but the deadline had already passed, so that's why his name's on the ballot, and we're going to have to count any votes that are cast for him. But he has effectively made it public that he does not wish to run for it. So That's why people will see those results election night, and they're going to see that on their ballot.
Right. So Neil Elks is on the ballot along with Mr. McLawhorn, who has pulled out of the race.
That's right.
But again, if you're a Republican voter, you will not vote in that race now anyway.
That's correct.
You'll only vote in the Republican, and there is not a Republican candidate, is there?
No, sir.
So essentially, this is the election for sheriff.
It is.
All right.
And another one point out is a few questions we've been getting. Everybody in Pitt County has been so used to having their Board of Education election in the primaries. But with another election bill we had passed last year, those are now held in November. So people will go in expecting to see a Board of Education contest on their ballot, and they won't. That's going to be in November.
I'm looking at the story in the News Observer this morning, and one of the things they're saying is you cannot take a cell phone or have a camera inside your polling place. You can leave your cell phone in your pocket, can't you?
Yes, and we're somewhat we try to be as lenient as we can on that, because in this modern day of technology, a lot of people will enter information into their cell phone who they're going to vote for rather than a piece of paper. So if they pull that out, as long as it's obvious that they're not communicating with anybody or taking photos, we'll generally leave them alone. But if they're talking on the phone or appear to be texting someone, then poll worker will step up and inform them.
What's the big problem with that?
What it is just getting outside influence as to who they should vote for. When a voter goes into the polling place, they should know who they're going to vote for.
So you don't want people texting someone and saying, "Hey, I don't know about this judge's race. Tell me who to vote for."
That's right. That should all be done prior to going into the polling place.
So that's illegal to do that.
That is. It is. Yes.
All right. And so I'm assuming that. Do you have the number? How many? I know we had about 5,200 in 2010 that were early voters. What was the total number in 2010? I know you know these numbers, Dave, because you're a spreadsheet guy. You got to pull your spreadsheet out.
Oh yeah, I've got to find that. I've got it here somewhere.
Well,
on my desk of buried items.
I guess the real question is: are we expecting a huge run at the polls tomorrow?
I'm looking back. I just pulled it up in 2010. Election day, we had about 11,400 folks vote on Election day.
So more people still vote on Election day.
They do. They do.
Interesting.
And it's a dip. In the previous midterm in 2006, it was just 6,000 people who voted early. And prior to that, in 2002, it was almost 17,000. So it kind of fluctuates up and down. Looking at the one-stop turnout so far, it looks like it's going to match 2010, about 11,000, 12,000. Hopefully we'll do more. A lot of folks they just love that election day. That's when you vote.
Yeah. And the weather looks good tomorrow too. It's going to be about 80 degrees tomorrow. It should be a good spring day to get out and vote.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. Anything else we need to know, Dave, or anything you need to tell the voters before the big day tomorrow?
No, just look up on the State Board website if you don't already know where you need to go vote, and go vote. All the same polling places we had last November in the municipal election, which we also had the school bond, so all county voters could vote. All those same polling places are in effect. We haven't moved any since then. And just remember, your one stop is closed and done. You have to go to your assigned polling place to vote.
Well, once again, I had full intentions to vote early and didn't, so I'll be out there in line tomorrow getting my vote cast.
All right. They'll be there and ready for you.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much. Thanks for all you guys do. You guys do a great job.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Dave Davis, the Pitt County Elections Board Director.